Okay, here we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting fractions. So earlier we learned the lowest common multiple and the greatest common factor, and we used the greatest common factor to simplify fractions, and now we're going to use the lowest common multiple, the lowest number numbers go into, the numbers that you count on your fingers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, are multiples. Again, the lowest common multiple is the lowest number both numbers go into. We're now going to take a look at the lowest common denominator, which is just the lowest common multiple of the denominators. So let's present a question. 1 over 2 plus 1 over 2. So what's a half plus a half? Well, we know the answer is 1. So let's get there using methods so we can do higher level questions. So what's the lowest common denominator between 2 and 2? What's the lowest number 2 and 2 both go into? Well, we know it's 2. And notice in the notes I go down the page, which we should start to be doing, but sometimes I'm going to go off to the right. So the first step is just, what is the lowest common denominator? I don't do anything else until I've figured out what that is and put that down below. Now, I didn't have to do anything to either denominators, so I can simply just add the tops. 1 plus 1, which is 2 over 2, and we know 2 divided by 2 is 1, and we can circle our answer. We can check our answer on the calculator. 1/2, 1 divided by 2, plus 1 divided by 2 equals 1. Check mark. So, as you can see in the notes, I've done that pictorially, as I've done that for the next example as well, but again, we're just going to do another question. And this time, I'm going to go down the page, just showing you that sometimes we can go to the right, sometimes we can go down. You get to decide which one you like better, which one you prefer, but more and more we're going to be going down the page instead of to the right. So let's present 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3. Now, what is the lowest common multiple? The lowest common multiple between 2 and 3. Well, let's do it off to the right. 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh, could have stopped at 6. The lowest number that 2 and 3 both go into is 6. And again, I'm going to go down the page. So we know that the lowest common multiple between 2 and 3 is 6. The lowest common multiple between 2 and 3 is 6, and that goes on the bottom. I don't do anything else until I've proposed that. Exactly like that. I don't do anything at the top. I don't think about what the top would be. I don't do anything else except get the lowest common denominator and put it on the denominator. Now, I can decide, I can figure out what I've done to the fractions on the top. So, how did I get 6 from 2? Well, I times it by 3. And if I'm going to be timesing the bottom by 3, as we learned from simplifying and expanding, we're simply going to be multiplying the tops and bottoms by things. So now we're just expanding things. So if I multiply the bottom by 3, I also have to multiply the top by 3. And then the fraction on the right, the bottom says 3. What did I do with 3 to get to 6? Well, I times it by 2. And again, from expansion, as we learned earlier, if we times the bottom by 2, we also have to times the top by 2. And then I can work on the top of the fractions down below. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. And then again, I could go down, but lots of times to save some space, it's going to be a little bit easier just to write final steps off to the right. So now we have a lowest common denominator of 6. I can simply add the tops. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then I can circle my answer. I can now check my answer on the calculator. 1 divided by 2, 1/2, plus 1 divided by 3, 1/3 is equal to 5 divided by 6 is all 0.83 repeater and check mark. Again, not sometimes, not when your teacher asks you to. Every single question that you ever do in mathematics, check your answer. So we get 5, 6, and as you can clearly see in the pictures below, I've taken a half of a rectangle and added a third of a rectangle designed specifically in the lowest common denominator format, and we get 5 parts of 6. So let's take one more example down below. I'm just going to throw in subtraction all the same. 3 over 4 minus 1 over 6. Notice I don't squeeze everything in together. Notice I put the equal sign a little bit off to the right so I get a chance to show steps right where it is. Now, from the last question, you may have thought that lowest common multiple was simply multiplying the two denominators together. Now that works, but you'll just have to simplify the fraction again further in the end. But let's do it off to the right. The numbers, the lowest common multiple, 4, 8, 12, 16. Let's do 6. 6, 12, and I'm going to stop there. Notice the lowest common multiple between 4 and 6, the denominators, is 12. Not multiplying them together to get 24. If you did that, no problem. You just have to simplify further in the end. However, if you start to do that type of stuff, it's going to make your life a lot more difficult in the future. So again, we found the lowest common denominator to be 12. So I'm going to say over 12 minus over 12. Notice I didn't do anything with the tops. I don't even care about them yet. I do that as a thought process. Get stuff out of the way, then start to work on other stuff, and try not to overwhelm yourself with too many things at once. So what did I do to 4 to get 12? Well, I times it by 3. And if I times the bottom by 3, I have to times the top by 3. And what did I do to 6 to get 12? Well, I times it by 2. And if I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to multiply the top by 2. And 3 times 3 is 9. And 1 times 2 is 2. And this time I'm going to go off to the right. So I have a lowest common denominator of 12. I'm going to put that on the bottom. And 9 minus 2 is 7. And I'm going to circle my answer. And I'm going to check on the calculator. 3/4, 3 divided by 4, minus 1/6, 1 divided by 6 equals 0.583 repeater, which is 7/12, check mark. So we have now concluded simplifying, expanding, multiplying and dividing, and adding and subtracting fractions. We're going to be using these different methods and applying them to word problems like Billy ate a quarter of a piece or a pizza. Then his two friends, Aaliyah and Shannon, split the other remainder. How much did they each get? And we have to know when we want to apply each of the concepts we've just learned. But building these basic skills will be absolutely necessary as prerequisites to even consider problems like that. I cannot stress enough how important fractions are working forward. Higher level grades are just going to expect you to know all these rules like the back of your hand. So we work through these rules very slowly, then we will step it up when we get to the word problems.